separating them because everything that was on my Facebook or Instagram was real estate, real estate, real estate. My thought was, in order to bring them together, I had to separate them in totality so that I wouldn't, like, I can talk about real estate on my podcast, but that's not the main thing about my podcast. If I talk about, I didn't want another real estate podcast. That's just what it was. I just didn't want to do another one, but I felt that it was time for me to go here. So in order to do them, now when you see my content, you're gonna get both on my content together.
And what is your podcast?
It's unmasking different things in your walk with Christ. And so that's, you might get podcast stuff, but then I'm still in real estate, so it's not like that link either.
Gotcha.
So
So one of the things that's what I do with clients and with brands is make sure that we have a strategy that truly portrays who you are, but it also has to synchronize in some way. But I'm also a firm believer that don't allow people to hold you to one thing. And when we're many of us are polymaths and we can do more than one thing.
yeah,
So like with me, we have my ministry, which is Ordination, Pastor Kales, that's my big page on all my social media platforms. But then about 8 or 9 months ago, I started a separate page for the Oil Index where I primarily do my work. I show my work. We show our work from brands and organizations, but I surely share my prayers right on over there. In fact, my prayers is what initially grew the page. And then I separated from just the oil index, which is content creation, brand strategy, all those things. I also do funeral media. So I do media for funeral services and funeral homes. I have 5 funeral homes that I work with right now, including one in Texas. And I separated into another page, the oil index funeral media. So we have past scales, we have the oil index, we have the oil index funeral media, and we have Warrior Nation. If you go to any of those pages, you can still find Pastor Chaos. You see what I'm saying? So one of the things you can do if you have more than one thing and it's the totality of who you are, you can create smaller pages and see what God does with those. But just make sure you have like a link in your bio to where so if you go to Pastor Chaos, you can find everything about me through, you can click a link and go to this Instagram. You see what I'm saying? So, but if you go to my Pastor Kale's page, you're gonna get who I am. I start to integrate more like reality style things, content. Hey y'all, come to work with me today. You gotta find a way. You just have to make it fit. So instead of me feel like I can only pray on this page, I can only pray. No, no, this is me. So if you follow on this page, you're gonna get me. You see, because people will try to. So you just have to find a way to make it all fit so that you're telling one story. Because your life is a story. It is not just one thing. You know, you got a lot of stuff going on, but you want to have a central point. So there needs to be something right here. Because sometimes people say, a loose rule is 80% of your brand, 20% of X football game. You see what I'm saying? So let's have you don't want to be 100% because nobody will know the human component of there. If you don't ever show yourself when your child graduated or when your daughters did this or when your son did this or when you did this, any personal accomplishments, do you have friends? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you have, like whatever you want to share? Otherwise, people come and kind of see you like, so I feel like you don't have, you only have to tell people what you want them to know. People do tell a lot of stuff that's there. You can decide what you're going to tell and just tell them. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so here we go. Whatever story. So you really should sit back and say, okay, how can when people come to my page, I need to be likable. I also need to show that I'm knowledgeable. I can't be rude and all that. People, we're going to cancel calls. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. Okay, here we go. 4 non-negotiables AI must never replace. Ready? 4 non-negotiables that AI must never replace. This is a big. You ready? 4 non-negotiables that AI must never replace. All right, 4 non-negotiables AI must never replace. Number one, your voice. Your voice, like you just said, your voice is how people recognize you. Not your logo, not your colors. You, your stories, your perspective, your experiences. And let me give you an example. So listen to this. One realtor says, contact me for all of your real estate needs. I heard that one. Here's the second. So you hear it all the time, right? Contact me for your next purchase. Okay. Here's the second one. Before you buy a house in today's market, let me tell you what I would tell my own sister.
Mm,
What just happened?
this person.
Who would you buy from?
My sister.
My sister. Oh, she talking to me like I'm her son. Oh, but my kid said, what's the tea? The first one is buy a house for me. The second one is, let me tell you about today's market, like I was telling my sister. You see the difference. Right then, a wall came down. Did it? You can feel it in the room. You can tell which one is different. Which one sounds more human? So when you're doing your content, even if you're doing a walkthrough or we have a listing, we have listings, it's not just here's my listing. No, come alive. I feel like Pastor Ross does a great job of coming alive. I know I'm concentrating, but he does a great job of coming. You really got to give her credit. She has a lot of personality in her content, right? So that's just an example. I can honestly say when I watch her content, a lot of things we've done and a lot of things that she's doing, I can feel the pulse of who she is. You see what I'm saying? So if you're acting all stale and here's this and here's that, would you want to do business with you? Would you want to do business with you? So AI has to sound like you. Like you say, I use it, but I put a spin on it. Let it give you a guide, but be like, that right there is not quite like me. I want this to feel more, I'll tell it all the time. Chat, I need this to be more emotionally stirring. I literally prompt my chat to say that. Chat, that's not what I want to do. I argue with chat, but that's not what I say. I say emotionally stirring. That is too salesy. I don't want to be salesy. Let's do it again. You're right. That's okay. Okay, here we go. Before publishing, this is number two, standards. So the first one is your voice. The second one is standards. Before publishing anything, ask yourself this question. Would I say this face to face to somebody?